Braves playing host to the Phillies, a fantastic matchup on the mound. Cliff Lee and Tim Hudson in Atlanta.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Yeah, these two teams know a little bit about playoff-style baseball. The Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies, the middle game of this three-game set. The stars are aligned not only in the field but also on the mound with Tim Hudson and Cliff Lee. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy. I'll be joined in just a little bit by Mitch Williams. You know, last September, the Braves had a September to forget. They were 9-18. They had destiny in their hands to make the postseason, and they didn't make it. This year, they're hoping it's a September to remember. We'll bring in Mitch Williams here, and Freddie Gonzalez has been asked over and over, is your team ready for this September run?
Well, there's no question. He's going to have to answer that question over and over again until his team proves it is ready to be a playoff caliber team. Last year, they fell apart. There's no two ways about it. Their bullpen, their pitching, everything kind of fell apart in September. This year, they're out to prove they are healthy. They're mentally ready to compete in September to earn themselves a postseason spot.
All right, now on the flip side, the Phillies right now are the outside looking in. It's been such a surprising year. In fact, Charlie Manuel calls his year and Cliff Lee's year unreal, but they still have an outside shot.
There is an outside shot. If you look, they're 8 games back in the wild card. Anyone that wants to write this team off better remember they know how to win. Back in 2007, they were 7 games back of the Mets with 17 to play. They won the division that year. This team knows how to win when it's late in the season. We'll see if they can do it this year.
Well, this is a heck of a matchup this afternoon. It's been a great weekend so far here in Atlanta. Chipper Jones at his finale in a Braves uniform. He loves when fans come out to Braves country. They've got some stars all over the place for these Atlanta Braves. When we come back, the lineups and first pitch. number, 90 degrees and sunny here in Atlanta. It's going to be a hot afternoon as the Phillies and the Braves get together for Game 2 of this 3-game series. The opening pitch is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Braves are taking the field behind their starting pitcher today, right-hander Tim Hudson, who's making a young lady's day. That young lady was determined to get out on the mound a few moments ago. A lot of teams do this during day games. They have randomly selected children from all around the stadium brought out to the field to get a chance to meet their favorite Atlanta Brave.
She looks like a gamer to me, Tommy.
Oh, her face was so determined going out to the hill to get that autograph. Today's starting lineup for the Phillies is brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Jimmy Rollins will lead it off. He's at shortstop. Back in the lineup for the second straight day. Juan Pierre, the left fielder, bats second. Chase Utley and Ryan Howard are back together. John Mayberry has been hot lately. He'll bat fifth. Lance Nick starts in right field today. And then the bottom third, Franzen, Kratz, and Lee. Franzen and Kratz have been unbelievable stories for the Phillies. Here's today's defensive alignment for the Atlanta Braves, brought to you by Chevrolet. Reed Johnson starts at center field for Michael Bourne, just getting a day off against a tough left-hander. Freddie Freeman, Dan Uggla, Paul Janisch, and Chipper Jones around the infield, and Brian McCann gets an opportunity to catch Tim Hudson this afternoon. It's the 15th time he's caught him this year. And Hudson has been nothing short but durable for the Atlanta Braves. 23rd start, 13-4 with an ERA of 3.57.
And the scouting report on Tim Hudson: fastball, cutter, slider, and split. He lives down in the zone with every one of those pitches. He must have great command of all of them and live on the edges, because he never changes the hitter's eyes. Very seldom will he throw a ball up in the zone to change the hitter's eyes. He's one of the few guys that can live down there and have success because he does have great command.
Well, he's making his 400th career start and his 27th against the Philadelphia Phillies. He has not faced another team more than the Phillies. So Jimmy Rollins will walk to the plate to get things started for the Phils this afternoon. Take a look at Rollins' numbers: 15 home runs and 51 runs batted in. You want to talk about a guy who's been a story in Philadelphia the last couple of days.
Well, and it's been a story before with Charlie pulling him out of the game for not running a ball out. And I understand Charlie's position. Jimmy's a leader on this team. And when you're a leader on a team, you don't want young kids sitting over there on the bench watching you jog to first base and see a pop-up fall in. As Jimmy goes, so go the Phillies. If he scores a run, they're 599 and 266, Tom. He's pretty important to him.
Well, he takes a strike right out of the chute to start the ball game, so it's no balls in one strike. He has 41 career leadoff home runs. And he takes inside, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, Jimmy's one of the rare leadoff guys that you find that does have pop. I look back over like Ricky Henderson. He had power in the leadoff position. Jimmy's not going to walk a lot. He wants to swing the bat.
He has 15 hits lifetime against Hudson. He had a home run back on the 8th of August against him, and he lines one to right field, and it's in for a base hit. So here's what we were talking about earlier this week when the Phillies were back home against the New York Mets on Thursday. Jonathan Nice on the mound, a pop-up in front of the plate, and Nice just couldn't handle it.
Well, and I've never understood this. Number one, a pitcher ought to be able to catch a pop-up. You've been playing the game since you were little. But what happened is Jimmy kind of jogged at first, and nothing would have been said about it had Jonathan Nice caught the ball. But the fact is he dropped it, and now Jimmy looks foolish because he was jogging.
Well, it's the second time it's happened in the last couple of weeks. It happened earlier this season in Miami against the Marlins on a ground ball. Juan Pierre is now the batter. Pierre, what a career he's had. This year hitting .299 with a home run and 22 runs batted in. Well, he was a pinch hitter in last night's ball game.
Juan is not a guy that's going to look for the long ball. No, he's a slap hitter, put the ball in play and start to running.
Rollins draws a throw. Hudson is a very good athlete. He holds runners on well. And he's just trying to throw a calling card over there to keep Jimmy Rollins close, who's stolen 24 bases this year and is 3 away from 400 for his career.
Well, and the one thing Tim Hudson will do, he is not going to fall into a rhythm in his times. meaning he's not going to get the ball, throw it, get the ball, throw it. He's going to change times, hold the ball on Jimmy, and upset Jimmy's rhythm at first base.
There's Chase Utley waiting on deck. No balls and 2 strikes, the count to Pierre.
And you saw him try and bunt Jimmy into scoring position there. Now he has one job: try and pull the ball to the right side of the infield and move Jimmy to second base.
Well, Rollins takes his lead. See, the right side is wide open for him. And Pierre chops it to the right side. Uggla charges, applies the tag. Smart play. Throw not in time to get Pierre.
You know, you kind of wonder right there, had he run at Jimmy and thrown the ball to first, could Freddie Freeman have thrown back to second and tagged Jimmy Rollins out? As we look at the replay here, you see he gets him stopped, throw it, and then Freeman would have had to get him. Jimmy doing his best job he can of getting skinny right there.
And Rollins also had his hands up as the throw was going over to first. So 1 away here in the top of the first inning, and Chase Utley is the batter. Utley 249 with 9 home runs and 26 RBIs.
And what I was talking about earlier about living down in the zone like Tim Hudson does, that's about right there. That's about as up in the zone as you will see Hudson throw his fastball. He lives down, and when as a hitter, if you can eliminate the ball up, it makes it a whole lot easier on you as a hitter. As we look at Brian McCann give the signs here, he wants a fastball away. Unless he gives that pinky and then the index finger as a throw over sign.
Little hook 'em horns.
Yeah.
Want to know the count to Chase Utley. Hudson with 14 straight winning seasons, and it looks like he's going to have a 15th consecutive winning season.
He'd have to go really bad in the month of September.
And he's been really good lately for the Braves. Another throw over, and Pierre just gets back. Well, I told you he's a good athlete. He's got a good move.
Well, he's got real quick feet. And Pierre, yeah, he had that little lean. He was safe. But that one little bit of lean, that's all you have to get a base runner to do is lean towards second. If you get quick enough feet, that's where the pickoff comes in.
Well, he does not have a pickoff this year. In fact, his last one was in 2010, but he does have 16 for his career. It's 1 ball and no strikes, the count to Utley with a runner at first. Well, this is the reason why he's keeping an eye on Juan Pierre, tied with Maury Wills for 19th all time in stolen bases. Pierre, when you ask him about being tied with Maury Wills, he said all of his numbers during his career have totally blown him away.
Well, that's a pretty good name to be sitting beside if you're a base stealer.
In the dirt, nice play by McCann, 2-0. Pierre was saying that his 3 years in Los Angeles, he got a chance to know Maury Wills, and he said he owes Maury Wills and a number of others a lot for his success, because when he went to Los Angeles, Wills taught him some little things to understand about base stealing, about pitchers, to get an extra jump.
You know, you don't have to be the fastest guy in the league to steal bases. You have to be able to read pitchers. That's what Davey Lopes out in L.A., who was formerly here with the Phillies. He was a big help with Jimmy Rollins and Shane Victorino.
Fly ball center field. Reed Johnson is back on the track, and he'll make the catch. Pierre had crossed over second, so he's on his way back to first. 2 outs here at the top of the first. This ballpark does not play as small as the launching pad, Fulton County Stadium, which is just outside of Turner Field, but it was playing small last night. There were some home runs hit last night between these two teams.
Well, when you get in August and the humidity and the heat are up, the ball carries. And this guy coming to the plate right now, Tim Hudson knows if he keeps the ball down to Ryan Howard can hit the ball out of any part of any ballpark. this is one guy I would elevate on.
3-man overshift on defensively for Howard, with 10 home runs and 34 runs batted in.
He's only got 161 at bats, missed a majority of the season, almost all of the first half.
He has 25 RBIs in the month of August, and he takes a breaking ball for a strike, and it's 0-1. He has 7 career home runs against Hudson and already is homered in the series. That was last night against Mike Minor.
And that's what I'm talking about. This guy he doesn't stride. He's a straight up hands hitter. And when he's hot, you do not want to be down in the zone.
Howard lines one toward right field, knocked down by Ugla, who still has time and doesn't get Howard. Ryan Howard, who at the end of last season in the final game against the St. Louis Cardinals tore his left Achilles tendon. Doesn't run all that well, but he was able to hustle his way across the first base bag.
And that just goes to show you just how hard that ball's hit right there. That handcuffed Ugla, who was out in right field.
Looked like the foot and the ball arrived at the same time. They scored a hit.
It's out in right field. I don't think you can give an error to an infielder that's playing halfway out on the grass.
It's a great shot because it looks like the ball arrived just after the foot hit the bag. 2 outs, runners on first and second.
And right here is what separates good pitchers from great pitchers. The ability with 2 outs and runners in scoring position to make the pitches you need to make. Tim Hudson with runners on in scoring position, .251 batting average against him this year.
That's not too much higher than his overall batting average against.
No, he's done extremely well. And we'll contrast that with Cliff Lee a little bit later. And you look at their overall numbers, they're not that much different. I mean, their stat lines are very similar. The one loss column is where it's really different.
No balls, 1 strike to count to John Mayberry with runners on first and second. And Mayberry loops one to Bill Johnson can't get it. He plays it on a hot. Pierre's going to score, and the Phillies take a 1-0 lead. An RBI single for Mayberry.
With that overshift that they put on with Ryan Howard, ball hit directly to Ugla. The ball was smoked, but had that play been made, the Braves are in the dugout and Mayberry doesn't get that chance to hit right there and drive that run in.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the Braves have been so successful this year in second place behind the Nationals, their defense, their fielding percentage is tops in the National League. So the Phillies take the early lead. Lance Nix, getting a start in right field for Philadelphia, is up with runners on first and second here at the top of the first. How about the way Lance's brother Jason is filling in over third base along with Eric Chavez for the New York Yankees?
Well, they've got themselves in New York a great situation for both those guys. Eric Chavez towards the end of his career now. They can play him strictly against right-handers, play Jason against left-handers. It's a good situation until A-Rod gets back.
Lance Nix says he couldn't be prouder of his brother with the way he has performed this year. He's behind, no balls and 1 strike. Hudson takes a peek back at Howard at second.
And that's a good breaking ball. And I don't look for. We take a look at that last pitch and watch it. It comes in belt high, and the bottom just falls out of it. That's how a breaking ball is supposed to look.
Well, they play Nix to pull just a little bit of the infield, pretty much straight away in the outfield. Hayward, who's such a great athlete, is a little shallow and right. Not too many guys get to balls the way Jason Hayward does. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count to Nix.
And that pitch right there to me is Hudson trying to set up his split. He elevated his fastball. And as I said, you don't see him do that much. And if he does it, it's for a reason. It's to set up the following pitch.
Inside,
Nix did a great job of laying off that ball, Tom.
He did. I think part of the comfort level for Hudson, too, is the fact that Brian McCann and David Ross, who's a wonderful backup catcher for the Braves, have both had their share of time with Hudson. McCann 14 games this year, Ross 9 games this year, so they know him so well because they've been with him for these last handful of years.
Well, there's his splitter, and Nix wasn't biting there. We watch, and a split finger is just it's a fastball thought mentality as far as the pitcher goes. You're just gripping it different and throwing a fastball. You see the bottom fall out of it. Now, Hudson he can do anything he wants right here. As we look at my former teammate Roger McDowell, the pitching coach for the Atlanta Braves.
3 balls, 2 strikes the count. The runners will be off with 2 outs. And a call, strike 3. Beautiful pitch from Hudson. He set him up perfectly. The Phillies do score a run. We go to the bottom of the first. It's the Phillies 1, the Braves nothing, and Cliff Lee goes to work. Brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Martin Prado has moved up to the leadoff spot for Michael Bourne. Reed Johnson bats second. Then Hayward, Chipper Jones, and Freeman. McCann getting a chance to play against the left-hander today in the bottom third of Ugla, Yadish, and of course Tim Hudson. Cliff Lee 3-7 with a 3.67 earned run average. To say he's had an odd year is an understatement.
Complete understatement.
He's gone 6 innings or more in his last 10 starts, and he'll face Martin Prado to lead it off. Prado overall hitting .298, getting a chance to bat leadoff for the 140th time in his major league career. The Braves have been very fortunate in recent years to have Martin Prado, and even before, combine him with Omar Infante, 2 of the better utility guys in baseball. And Prado has been a wonderful player for Atlanta.
Well, what Prado to me does, he epitomizes baseball player. It doesn't matter where they put him in the field. It never affects his at bats. He takes whatever glove they need him to out there. Really, really good change up there by Cliff Lee. And this is where Cliff Lee, to me, has to be willing to go out of the strike zone. You're ahead 1-2. All the pressure's on the hitter. Go out of the zone.
He throws a cutter that gets in Rollins on the edge of the outfield grass is under it, and there's one away. Let's take a look at the defensive alignment for the Phils, brought to you by Chevrolet. The outfield is made up of Pierre, Mayberry, and Nix. That's changed during the course of this season. The infield, France has done a great job over at third. Rollins at short, Utley at second. Howard, of course, at first. Eric Kratz has been filling in for Carlos Ruiz and doing so very well. Here's Reed Johnson, who the Braves acquired from the Chicago Cubs earlier this year. Overall hitting .305, .314 with Atlanta. Part of the reason he's in there today is because he's hitting .312 against left-handers. And Michael Bourne is a cool 0 for 15 lifetime against Cliff Lee.
Well, and this is why they got Reed Johnson. It gives Freddie Gonzalez a little bit of flexibility to give Michael Bourne a breather on days like this.
Ryan Howard will head over toward the tarp on that pop-up, and it's out of play.
The scouting report on Cliff Lee, he's going to pound the strike zone. You can count on that. He's got a fastball, cutter, curveball, and a straight change. Throws a lot of strikes. I think too many. The key to him, get ahead in the count and make hitters chase. He leads all of baseball in strikes thrown with 70% strikes thrown. For me, that's too many. He's got to be willing to go out of the zone. I'm a big believer, Tom. You get ahead with strikes, you get outs with balls. And I think sometimes Cliff gets a little bit too enamored with throwing too many strikes.
Well, he's ahead, no balls at 2 strikes to Reed Johnson. Johnson hits a changeup back foul. It remains 0-2. Eric Kratz, who's doing the catching today, said yesterday that he thinks one of the differences for Lee over his last couple starts, including his first win at Citizens Bank Park of the year last time out, is that he's using his curveball and his changeup more in cutter counts. That one's to the right side. Utley to his left. And there are 2 outs. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break.
Tommy, to the AL East, the hard-charging Orioles who closed the gap between they and the division-leading Yankees to just 2 games at the start of play, but that lead is now back to 3 for New York as they hang on and come back from a 3-0 deficit to beat Baltimore. A reminder, if you call yourself a sports fan, Mitch, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. See, the Orioles are 3 games back behind the Yankees, who have spent the last 81 days in first place in the American League East. It's surprising to see the Orioles lose a 1-run game. They've been the best in baseball at winning 1-run games.
Unbelievable this year. And I think that's a direct reflection of their manager, Buck Showalter, telling them you get 27 outs, play all 27 of them.
Here's Jason Hayward, and he lifts one down the left field line in foul territory. And Franzen makes an over-the-shoulder basket attempt, and he hangs on. What a play by Kevin Franzen to wrap up this first inning. Nothing across for the Braves and a little defense for the Phillies to boot. We go to the second here in Atlanta. It's the Phillies 1 and the Braves nothing. sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by Jeep. Now downtown Atlanta, we move a mile or so to Turner Field, where Tim Hudson begins the top of the second against Kevin Franzen.
What do they say, Tommy? Whenever you make a great play to end the inning, you lead off the next one.
Well, he did make a great play to wrap up the bottom of the first inning. Franzen's been filling in at third base for the Phillies for Placido Polanco, who is on the roster but has been battling a sore back. And this guy has had himself a heck of a run. Since the 8th of August, he has the second highest batting average in Major League Baseball at 388. And he hits that one to left field. Prado going back, and he makes the over-the-shoulder grab.
Tell you what, that ball was hit hard. Prado got a great jump on that ball. And this is what I mean about a baseball player. He played third, first, second, put him in left field. He looks like an everyday left fielder. Just a tremendous athlete.
Well, and a good teammate, too. You think about when the Braves acquired Dan Uggla from the then Florida Marlins. Prado was playing a lot of second base. And, well, they needed him to move his position. And he decided to go to left field and had been playing it a little bit in winter ball and then played it every day in winter ball leading into that season. And I'll tell you what, he's turned into a darn good left fielder.
Well, and it gives Freddie Gonzalez so much flexibility to know that you have a veteran guy that will swallow his pride and just take the glove out there you want him to take out there, and know that he's not going to use that as an excuse if he goes into a hitting slump.
Well, you wonder what they'll do next year as Eric Kratz waves at a changeup, but it's 1 ball and 1 strike. When Chipper does retire, third base will be open. They have internal candidates like Juan Francisco, but you wonder if they move Prado over to third.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Here's the 1-1 to Kratz, and a breaking ball. It's 1-2.
And with that swing, I would say you watch this swing here of Kratz on this breaking ball. If I'm Tim Hudson, Kratz is going to get a steady diet of breaking balls until he proves he can hit it.
Well, there you go. He threw him a slider, and it was out of the strike zone for the second strikeout for Hudson. That's a heck of a pitch.
I mean, this pitch is 1.5 feet off the plate away. It's in a left-hander's batter's box.
Well, Kratz is retired. He was one of the heroes last night for the Phillies. His tying home run against Craig Kimbrell. And here's Cliff Lee. Cliff Lee, if you haven't watched him play a baseball game, he plays every facet of the game.
Yep.
Not only pitching, but also defense. And he loves to hit, as many pitchers do.
Both these pitchers going today can handle the bat.
Yeah, both these guys are tied for 7th in hits among pitchers in the National League with 10.
I think if you're a pitcher and you don't work at it and you just consider yourself an out when you walk up there, you're not doing yourself any justice whatsoever. You have to hit during the course of the year, work at it. And you can see Hudson's pitching to him as you saw a second pitch changeup.
Well, last year against the Atlanta Braves at Citizens Bank Park, Cliff Lee went yard against Tommy Hanson. That place was electric at that point. The Braves wound up winning the ball game 4-1 in 11 innings. Later on in the year, Lee hit a home run against Ted Lilly of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So he had 2 last year.
Well, I've always lived by the theory of swinging bat is dangerous. And if you go up there with that mindset, I'm not gonna stand here and just let this guy throw balls down the middle and walk back to the dugout. I got a bat in my hand, and if I swing it, I got a chance of getting a hit.
Ground ball over to second. Uggla to his right. And it turns out to be an easy inning for Tim Hudson. 1-2-3 go the Phils. On to the bottom of the second. We'll see Chipper Jones when we return. Budweiser, great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Back at Turner Field, 1-0 Phillies. Cliffley had a very easy first inning. Now he'll face Chipper Jones, Freddie Freeman, and Brian McCann. What a final year Chipper Jones is having. 301 with 13 home runs and 55 runs batted in. His lifetime average is at 304.
Well, it's safe to say he's going to be a career 300 hitter when he's done.
Takes the first pitch for a strike. It's 0-1. That's important for a hitter, wouldn't you think, of with the resume of a Chipper Jones?
Well, I know my good buddy John Kruk, he got a base hit in his last at bat that put him right on 300, and he turned around and walked off the field and retired.
Said game's over.
Said game's over.
Well, you read articles about Mickey Mantle, and one of the aspects of Mantle's career that aided him for years is that he did not finish as a 300 hitter. Little low, 2 balls and 1 strike. You see, Chipper, he ranked second all time among switch hitters in average, third in home runs, third in doubles, and fifth in on-base percentage.
I mean, those are just incredible numbers when you stop and look at it.
There's a cutter on the outside corner at 2-2.
Yeah, that's a good spot for him to live. Stay away from where he's going to do the damage, and that's middle in. If he gets a base hit to right, you can handle that.
3-2 the count.
Just missed with a really good fastball on the inner part of the plate. But this is where Cliff, I think, sometimes gives in, and I'm going to throw a strike no matter what. He's walked 25 guys all year long. But the problem with that, Tommy, is 25 walks, he's given up 22 home runs. I had pitching coaches from the time I was 17 that say there's no defense for a walk. And I would say, show me the defense for that ball in the left field bleachers. There ain't a great big defense for that either.
Now there's Rich Doobie, the fine pitching coach for the Philadelphia Phillies. 3-2 pitch from Lee. Chopper to shortstop. Big hop for Rollins. So 4 up, 4 down for Lee so far in this game. And that'll bring Freddie Freeman to the plate.
One of the things I've loved about our game this year is just the respect that Chipper's been shown everywhere he's gone. They've given him a gift, a retirement gift. He was just out in San Diego. They gave him a surfboard that should have rails on it. Because at 40 years old, I'm not sure Chipper's going to be doing a lot of surfing. I brought him a gift today, but I didn't see him. I was going to give him a pair of reader glasses that I know we all have to use.
And if he doesn't, he will soon. I talked to him about it yesterday as Freddie Freeman takes the first pitch for a ball. And he said he's been blown away by, everything that's happened on this sort of world tour that he's been on.
Well, and that just goes to show you the impact and respect that he's garnered throughout his career.
He said he thought that he'd go to certain cities and he'd maybe get a round of applause, maybe a video tribute, as Freeman bloops that one to right center field. Utley can't get to it. Yeah, that's the first hit of the day for the Braves. A 1-out single. Well, here's some of the gifts that Chipper Jones has received during his tour around Major League Baseball. Craig Biggio gave him a cowboy hat. He said that's part of it that's been great is the guys that have been presenting him with the gifts. Ryan Dempster gave him the flag from Chicago. And there's Scott Rowland. And Walt Jocketty presented him with a third base. John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox, presented him with the number 10 from the lineup at Fenway Park. And there's the surfboard.
There it is.
And he said the surfboard was cool, but the fact that Trevor Hoffman gave him the surfboard was even better.
Well, like I said, the respect that Chipper's earned over the course of his great career, I think that means more to him than anything.
Brian McCann hits it on the ground to first, scooped up by Howard. He gets one, and nobody's over covering first.
And that right there is absolutely Cliff Lee's responsibility. Anything hit to the right side of the infield, the pitcher has to break on that ball. And I can't really sit up here and judge him because I never made that play one time in my career. But you watch Cliff Lee, Cliff never even moves and then realizes too late that he has to get over there.
He realized it too. You can see his reaction as he was coming off the mound.
And that's been a play Ryan Howard throughout his career has struggled with because he's not been able to get the angle, meaning get inside to where he can make a throw to where the runner's not in his way. Did a very good job with his footwork there.
2 away. Dan Uggla's the hitter. Uggla batting 7th for the Braves. You want to talk about having an odd year. These last 2 seasons have been very odd for Dan Uggla. 17 home runs, 64 RBIs this year, but hitting just .208. And if it weren't for the 80 walks, which leads the National League, who knows where his batting average would be.
Yeah. And the one thing about Uggla is you look at the defensive alignment, everybody's playing him pretty much straight up. Lee started him with a changeup. The only one I'd say has shifted a little bit is Mayberry in center field has shifted a little bit to left center.
Maybe Utley a step or two at
yeah.
second base. On the inside corner, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And this is where Cliff Lee, to me, has the best command of his fastball of any pitcher in the game. Elevate your fastball in the middle. And I don't mean letter high. I mean throw it right down the middle at the top of the catcher's helmet.
Curveball waved at and missed, and Lee picks up his first strikeout. Well, the curveball was dancing there. We'll return to Atlanta after a word from your local Fox station. Presented by MasterCard. Well, it's turned out to be a sunshiny afternoon here in Atlanta. 1-0 Phillies on an RBI single by Mayberry in the first. Jimmy Rollins will lead it off. Well, the Braves are wearing their throwback uniforms today. They've been wearing them during the course of weekend games this year. They're the uniforms from the first 2 years that they played here in Atlanta. As Rollins sends one in the air deep to right toward the pole, and it hits the pole. It's a home run. Jimmy Rollins, a solo shot, his 16th of the year. And the Phillies are on top 2-0. When that left the bat, it seemed like everybody was looking around for where the ball was.
Yeah, I saw it, and I thought if it stayed fair, it was gone because it sounded good enough. But you look at the pitch, this is the problem with living down in the zone. You have got to stay on the corners. If you're not going to change the hitter's eyes, you better be able to paint.
That was a towering shot for Jimmy Rollins. His 16th home run, 52nd run batted in on the season. As Juan Pierre takes outside, it's 1 ball and no strikes.
Tim Hudson's on 5 days rest. And on 5 days rest this year, he's had 7 starts, and he's 6-0.
Wow, what a play by Freddie Freeman. You want to talk about the hot corner? The hot corner just flipped over to first base.
Yeah, that ball was smoked.
It went right into the palm of his glove.
He's trying to hide it, but that hurt.
That hurt a little bit. One away here at the top of the 3rd. And Chase Utley is the hitter. Utley flying out to the track his first time up to center. Talking to Chipper yesterday, he was talking about how important it was, and it always is this way during afternoon games here in Turner Field, to score early, because he said the shadows and the sunshine becomes very problematic.
Absolutely.
As a hitter.
I know as a pitcher, having formerly pitched in Wrigley and being a closer, coming in and having that shadow halfway between home and the mound, I used to love to throw in those games.
Softly hit to the right side, Ugla to his left. And there are 2 outs. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break.
Tom, Cardinals and Nationals. Washington averaging almost 9 runs a game during their 3-game winning streak, and they're at it again early today after Bryce Harper doubled and scored. Ian Desmond's fly ball is mishandled, making it 4-zip. The Cardinals have gotten 2 runs back on a David Freese home run. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Back to Tom and Mitch.
All right, Matt, 36-3 over the last 5 games. The Cardinals have been outscored 36-3.
And that's one of the most potent offenses in the National League.
Right. Howard takes a breaking ball inside, 1-0. That's why the way baseball has gone the last several years, as you see the NL East standings, where Washington comfortably on top, 6.5 ahead of Atlanta. The way baseball has gone, whether it be the Red Sox a year ago, the Braves a year ago, the Mets in 2007, no lead is safe in September.
And that's what you have to realize. They give you 162 of them to play. If you play all 162 as hard as you can play them, there's no telling what can happen. Because St. Louis, I believe, was 10.5 out late in August last year.
August 28th.
And they were World Series champions.
Howard takes inside, 3-1. Cardinals were 10.5 games out at the end of August last year. They were 8.5 games out on the 6th of September last year behind the Braves.
And that's why I said in our opening that the Phillies sit 8 games back of the wild card. If you get on a run, and the Cardinals are one of those teams in the wild card hunt, if they go to faltering and a couple other teams go to faltering, the Pirates and Philly plays well enough, they could sneak in. And if they do get in a playoff situation, they have the starting pitching to compete in the postseason.
3-2 the count to Ryan Howard. The pitch from Hudson way upstairs, ball 4. And Howard is aboard for the 2nd time. It's the first walk issued by Hudson. And here comes John Mayberry. That's what you're saying is if you're the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, or the Phillies, then hope is not lost.
No. I mean, there's 30 games left in the season. You can make up a lot of ground if all you do is play the game that's in front of you. You can't play 10 games in one day. You play that day to win that game and see what happens.
John Mayberry singled home run his first time up. He takes upstairs, 1 ball and no strikes.
And if I'm Roger McDowell, the Braves pitching coach right now, I'm starting to worry a little bit because Hudson is up with his pitches. And this is not a guy that throws the ball up.
It's up again, and it's 2-0.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Roger make a trip here before long. If he misses again upstairs like that, that's a product of his lower body leaving too quick and his arm not being able to catch up.
Now, if you're the hitter, are you patient here for a strike, or are you thinking, all right, if he throws me a strike, then it's going to be one that I can drive?
I'm looking to jump anything in the middle of the plate right here. And that was a pitcher's pitch. There isn't anything Mayberry could have done with that pitch, so you take it. You see, if he starts to drift down the mound before his arm can catch up and get on top, he was a little quick with his lower half there, but not too bad.
Outside, 3-1.
And the Phillies hitters done a pretty good job of making him get in the strike zone, with the exception of Kratz, who went after some breaking balls. The rest of the lineup's done a pretty good job of making him throw the ball over the plate.
The 3-1 pitch is popped foul behind the plate, so it's 3-2. Howard will get a jump. McCann's going out to have a conversation with Tim Hudson. Freeman's not holding Howard on. Roger McDowell, who took over for Leo Mazzoni as the pitching coach, big shoes to fill, and he has overflowed those shoes.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I played with a lot of guys that I thought would go on and become coaches. Roger wasn't one of them. He used to set guys' feet on fire and do all that stuff. He had a lot of fun playing the game, but he's been an outstanding pitching coach.
There goes Howard. The pitch is grounded towards shortstop. And Giannis with the room service hop. Side is retired. Jimmy Rollins, though, has given the Phillies a 2-run advantage. He's homered for the 16th time this year. This was a towering shot that was just fair. Phillies on top 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the third. Paul Janisch will lead it off for the Braves against Cliff Lee. And he takes a strike. Janisch hitting .205 with no homers and 9 runs batted in. He was acquired from the Cincinnati Reds where he was in AAA. Very good defensive shortstop. Has done everything Freddie Gonzalez has needed defensively. With Andrelton Simmons on the disabled list. Simmons is the 20-year-old rookie. Wonderfully gifted defensive shortstop. He's on the DL because he injured his thumb earlier this year. Janisch doesn't hit a whole lot, but he fields his position better than most.
And the Reds were able to let him go because of the emergence of Zach Cozart. And people are going to think that pitch right there is a bad pitch. I love that he threw that pitch. I want to see pitchers get back to using pitches to set up other pitches.
Sets him up with a curveball, and it remains 1 ball and 2 strikes.
The pitch count has made it seem like it's a race to get guys out, and you start getting guys 0-2 and 1-2 and still throwing strikes. It does the hitter a favor.
Looks like they're going to come back with a fastball inside, and he pops him up. Lee is in the area. He'll take this. He is, as you said before, the difference.
He's a baseball player that happens to pitch.
And he is a guy that likes to play the game entirely. Tonight, college football comes to Fox as Aaron Andrews, Eddie George, and Joey Harrington will get you ready for kickoff with the Ford Fox College Saturday pregame show. Then Heisman Trophy frontrunner Matt Barkley and #1 ranked USC take the first step on the road to a national championship as they take on Hawaii. The premiere of Fox College football presented by Geico is tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Tim Hudson, a .233 hitter, will be the batter with 1 out. By the way, Eddie George, I've done some college football games with him before. The former Ohio State Heisman Trophy winner is Hudson chops it to second. There are 2 outs. Eddie and I did the final Ohio State Michigan game at the Big House, and we had to sign a copy of a picture from the press box.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's Eddie George, Ohio State alum, signing the picture of the old press box at the Big House.
In Michigan.
Right smack dab in the middle, up high, and that picture is now in the new press box at the University of Michigan.
Well, it is definitely that time of year. It's college football time.
2 outs. Here's Martin Prado. And Prado takes strike 1. Well, Tennessee had a big win last night. There's a lot of college football going on in this area today. Tennessee won its ball game last night against North Carolina State at the Georgia Dome. And tonight, Auburn will take on Clemson at the Georgia Dome.
And I was going to say, I know Auburn's in town because I had a nice talk with Charles Barkley in the lobby of the hotel this morning. He came down for the Auburn game.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Prado. Foul ball, and it's 1-2. Did you ask him how his golf game was?
You know, I love Charles to death, but he has a really ugly golf swing.
And he knows it.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to play in a tournament with him a couple weeks ago up in Toronto, but he had to film a commercial and couldn't make it.
2 outs here at the bottom of the third. The count is 1-2 to Martin Prado.
And again, Cliff Lee's ahead in the count. Let's see where he goes with this pitch.
And a called strike 3. Comes back with a cutter on the outside part of the plate. 1-2-3 go the Braves. Here in the third, on to the fourth. The Phillies with a 2-0 lead over Atlanta. Ticket is included at no extra charge when you switch. And by the makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. Now, a statue of Phil Niekro outside Turner Field. Turner Field has been the home of the Atlanta Braves since 1997. It was at one time Centennial Olympic Stadium when Atlanta hosted the Summer Games back in 1996.
Nutsy.
Phil Niekro had an unbelievable career.
Yes, he did.
Lance Nix will lead it off here in the fourth. And he fouls the first pitch away. It's 0-1. This facility, when the Olympic Games were here, used to hold 85,000 folks.
Wow.
Yeah. Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, they took that down in 1997 when this place opened for baseball.
And I never had the pleasure of playing in this ballpark. I got to play in the launching pad that was Fulton County, though.
Did you like that as a pitcher?
No. Not being a fly ball pitcher like I was.
I always enjoy coming to this ballpark. It's one of the nicer ones on the circuit. And they have a good crowd on hand today, a little more than 40,000 they're anticipating. Because afterward they have a Leonard Skinner concert that will take place. Oh, and 2 the count to Nix, and they're the shadows we were talking about. Chipper said from about 5:15 Eastern, a little after 5, toward 5:15 Eastern until after 6 o'clock, it gets very difficult.
Well, now the hitter's standing in the shadow and the pitcher's in the sunlight, and it's not easy. You can't pick up spin on the ball if you're a hitter. I remember the nightmare that was Lee Arthur Smith thrown in the shadows at Wrigley. Him throwing a bazillion and the hitter standing up there praying it's not at him.
1-2 the count to Nix. And he fouls it off his foot.
And if I'm the pitcher now, knowing that the shadows have crept in, ahead in the count, this is where I start mixing in breaking balls that are bouncing, because hitters not being able to pick up that spin, if that ball starts in the strike zone, they have to honor that and go after it.
They got a pretty good swing at that fastball, and it remains 1-2. So as a pitcher, you look around, I mean, you think about the elements.
Absolutely. If you're not, I mean, I never pitched to the dimensions of the ballpark. I never let that encroach on what I was thinking. But shadows, absolutely.
Nix down on a changeup. And one away here in the fourth. Third strikeout for Tim Hudson. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for a game break. Matt?
Tom will take you out west. The Angels started play 8.5 behind Texas in the division, 3 behind Oakland in the wild card. Today they've fallen behind in Seattle on this Franklin Gutierrez double. 1-run lead, maybe all King Felix needs. 7-0 with a 1.23 ERA since the break. And I don't want to take too much time. I want to feel like I need to get it back to you guys for more stories about hanging out with Eddie George and Charles Barkley.
We like to name drop if we can, Matty, whenever possible.
You guys are good at it.
I'm sure, Matt, you have the same kind of stories, but we appreciate it.
Me and Charles were interrupted by Mick Jagger, but we kind of blew him off.
Here's Kevin Franzen. The count, 1 ball, no strikes to Franzen. And he fouls one at the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And you can see Hudson now going to that split finger, his breaking ball quite a bit in these last 2 at bats. It won't be but another 2.5, maybe 3 innings, and the pitcher will be in the shadow also, and it'll even things up.
To the count. Kevin Franzen wearing those specially designed shoes with the gold border, the gold laces. He chops that foul. Kevin, along with Anthony Rizzo of the Chicago Cubs and John Lester of the Boston Red Sox, they all have these specially made shoes that they wear in honor of the fight toward cancer. Rizzo and John Lester both overcame cancer during their lives, and Kevin Franzen, his brother DJ, passed away several years ago after a long battle with cancer. And those spikes from time to time will be up for auction, and Kevin uses the proceeds to go toward his charity, 19 for Life. Number 19 was his brother's favorite number, and he wore them through the month of July. Now wears them from time to time, and he's enjoyed a heck of a run in a Phillies uniform. And the guy's a baseball player, and you know, it's just something that's pretty near and dear to his heart.
Well, anything that generates revenue towards charities like that, I love it when ball players get involved with that stuff.
Remember when Franzen was first brought up by the San Francisco Giants, Dave Righetti was wearing number 19, and he gave Franzen that number. Righetti wore 19 during his major league career. Over to third, behind the bag, Chipper Jones. He'll throw out Eric Kratz. A 1-2-3 inning for Tim Hudson. A nice job. Chipper Jones will head toward the dugout and then head to the batter's box. He's due up for the Atlanta Braves. When we return, he's due up third. By Freddie Freeman in the second. Lee has a 2-0 lead. Reed Johnson will lead it off for the Braves. He grounded out to second his first time up. We talked about the shadows before, and they're creeping toward the mound now.
Yeah, it's not going to take a full 2 innings before the pitcher's in the shadow also.
First pitch from Lee at the knees. It's 0-1.
You know, you described earlier how Charlie Manuel said that it's just a strange year for Cliff Lee. Well, when you look at the two starters today, Hudson's 13-4 with a 3.57. Cliff Lee's 3-7 with a 3.57.
That ball's hit pretty well to right field, but Lance Nix tracks it down. So it's one away. Don't miss the biggest event of the season. Fox Fantasy Football presented by Burger King. Easy league setup, Fox Fantasy Insider info, and always free to play. Play in a private league with a group of friends or join a public league. Sign up today at foxsports.com/fantasy. With one away, here's Jason Hayward. And those numbers that you talked about, if you're Lee, it's tough to look past that win-loss record.
That's all that matters if you're a starter, to be quite honest. It's how many W's do you put up on the board. And Jason Hayward, this is a guy that in his rookie year made a big splash, struggled in his second year, but to me is a definition of making adjustments.
Grounds that one over to the right side. Utley to his right. Sails the throw a little bit. Hayward, who hustles all the time, is retired. So 2 outs. Here comes Chipper Jones. Grounded out to short his first time up. All right, back in 1995 when the Braves won the World Championship, look at all the players that were around. And then we cycle through into the early 2000s, 2001, 2002, 3. The number of players diminished, although Eddie Perez showed up a second time. And there's Chipper Jones. He's the only one that's been around for the Braves since their run began back in 1991.
And that run, for me, is just unbelievable. 14 straight years in the postseason.
He lines one to the alley in right center field. That's going to be in for a hit. Mayberry cuts it off.
Very good job by Mayberry Jr. getting over there to cut that ball off. And Chipper's swing has been the same his entire career. He just stays on the ball, right-handed or left-handed. Very similar swings from either side of the plate. But look at how still his head is. You want to preach, if you're coaching kids at home, that's what you preach. Your head has to remain still throughout the course of the swing.
Do you think at any point, and I know he's been asked over and over again, will he reflect back to this year and think, you know what, I still have something left? I mean, he's had such a good year. As Freeman follows with his second hit of the afternoon, Chipper's going to go to third. I don't think John Mayberry went after that ball that hard, and Chipper read it. And the Braves have something going. It's first and third with 2 outs.
And to answer that question, honestly, I don't, because Chipper's been so banged up. I don't think he's going to be one of these guys that we're going to see a comeback from. I think you see Chipper run. He obviously doesn't run like he did when he was a kid, but there's a lot of guys that wouldn't have tried to take that extra base right there. And this has been the great separator for me. And you talk about Cliff Lee's weird year. With bases empty, the league hits 232 against him. With runners on, they hit 324. With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, they hit 302. This is where Cliff has got to make pitches when there's guys on base and 2 outs.
Oh, and he's got a tough guy in Brian McCann. McCann grounded out his first time up into a fielder's choice.
And if I'm Cliff Lee, I'm looking in the on-deck circle. He made Dan Uggla look bad last time up as he shatters McCann's bat.
Well, the reason that McCann is so difficult is because he has torn apart the Phillies this year. He has 6 home runs against the Phillies, including 2 grand slams, one after another, including a grand slam against Roy Halladay here at Turner Field. 6 home runs and 17 RBIs this year against the Phillies. And his career, he's had great numbers against the Phils. In fact, the record for homers in the season against the Phillies is 10. And right now, McCann, Hairston, Scott Hairston, and Ryan Braun of the Brewers each have 6.
Well, you don't have to beat me over the head with a damp mop twice. I'm not giving him anything to hit right here. Like I said, I'm going to take my chance. Cliff Lee does not have to worry about losing his command. Pitch around McCann. If he chases it, great. If he doesn't, then you got Dan Uggla, who is not hitting for average, standing in the on-deck circle, and you made him look silly in his first at bat.
2-1 the count to McCann, and the pitch tied him up. They may appeal that, even though McCann was trying to get out of the way. And no swing.
And he did check his swing. I always judge whether or not they swung is the bat head in front of the plate. That's how I decide whether or not they swung. And clearly in that case it was not.
3 balls, 1 strike the count. Fly ball, shallow center field. John Mayberry is there. And Cliff Lee is going to work out of this jam here in the bottom of the 4th. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. On to the 5th. It's 2-zip Phillies. At the 5th, and Cliff Lee swings at the first pitch. And Tim Hudson now has retired 5 in a row. And to the top of the order for Jimmy Rollins. Well, next week's Fox Saturday Baseball returns with 3 games that all have playoff implications. These National League wildcard leading Braves will be in New York to take on the Mets in a showdown between NL East rivals, or Adrian Gonzalez and the new look Dodgers battle NL West leading Giants, or the Royals square off against the AL Central leading White Sox. Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by MasterCard, returns next week at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. Rollins takes the first pitch for a strike. Adrian Gonzalez acquired earlier this week from the Boston Red Sox. By the Los Angeles Dodgers. You figure the impact will be felt eventually.
Yeah, there hadn't been much impact so far.
No.
As Rollins rolls over on a sinker.
Matt Kemp, Hanley Ramirez, Adrian Gonzalez, the last 6 games, the Dodgers are combined for a 1-5 record. They're averaging 3.2 runs per game. The ERA is up to 6. It doesn't help when Billingsley has been banged up.
Yeah.
He's apparently going to get a cortisone shot. Kenley Jansen, their closer, is out with an irregular heartbeat.
Well, and Josh Beckett, who they also got in that trade, I think was a perfect thing for Josh Beckett. If there was ever a guy that needed a change of scenery, it was Beckett.
Well, they're 4.5 games out right now behind the Giants. As Juan Pierre stands in, no balls and 1 strike to Pierre. 0 for 2. Up the first base line. If this stays fair, it'll be a tough play. It's a foul ball that Pierre kicked fair.
As long as he's in foul territory. If it hit him in fair territory, I think he's out.
Well, there's Utley on deck. 0-2 the count to Pierre.
And this is where Tim Hudson, he wants to, you got 2 outs. You want to end this inning right here. You don't want to take a chance at facing Utley and putting yourself in a position of giving up a 2-run homer.
But as we mentioned before, and Freddie Gonzalez said this even today, and it was great meeting with Freddie earlier today. He's one of the nicer guys you'll meet in this game. But, you know, Hudson is not a strikeout guy. He has 3 today. He wants to pitch to contact, but it's good contact.
And that's the thing. Good contact. Pitch to contact guys. And he lives down in the zone, and that's pitch to contact. The only problem with pitch to contact is it finds holes. Just like this did. This is a good pitch by Tim Hudson. But this is what hitters, look at that ball. That ball is 6 inches off the ground. And Pierre is able to hit it in the gap between second or short and third. You can't make a better pitch than that if you're a pitcher, but that's what happens to pitch to contact guys. One day they'll throw a no-hitter and throw the exact same game the next time, and every ball is 6 inches out of reach of the fielders.
Well, 2 outs. Pierre's over at first. Any thoughts of him trying to steal here, you think?
Absolutely. If he's going to run, now would be the time to run. Because you either want him on second base and scoring position with Utley up, or him out and Utley leading off the next inning. And Hudson knows that. So don't be surprised to see 3 or 4 throws over to first base.
Brian McCann, by the way, behind the plate. There's been a lot of talk about his shoulder, and he has been throwing very well for the Atlanta Braves. McCann has been one of the better all-around catchers in the game for quite some time now. His shoulder bothers him sometimes on some swings, but he made a couple throws in yesterday's game. There is nothing wrong with his arm right now.
Freddie said he's thrown the ball probably better than he ever has. And he has been over the last few years. This has been the best all-around catcher in the National League. Now you got guys like Buster Posey and Phillies Carlos Ruiz, who have both stepped up, hitting for average and power.
One ball, 1 strike the count to Chase Utley. Base runners are 2 for 6 so far this year against Hudson.
Well, this is not the pitch to run on.
It is the pitch to hit, though. Line drive to right center field. Johnson's not going to get to it. It's going to go to the wall. Pierre's around third. He's heading for home. Giannis won't make a throw, and the Phillies lead it 3-0. An RBI double for Chase Utley, and it's the second run of the day for Juan Pierre.
And that was to my point about getting Pierre out. When you have the middle of the order coming up for the Phillies that can do this kind of damage, and I can't say Hudson didn't make a pitch to get Pierre out, because he did. That's just the way the game goes. He made a great pitch, and Pierre hit a slap shot into left field. But this is the one thing Juan Pierre can do. He can run.
Well, now they're going to walk Ryan Howard intentionally to face John Mayberry. For so much of this year, the Phillies did not have this presence, the presence of Utley and Howard in the middle of this lineup. And it's one of the reasons why they were 37-50 before the All-Star break, and currently 26-19 since the All-Star break.
Well, people at home don't understand how the absence of one big bat can make such a huge impact on a lineup. But the absence of Ryan Howard alone, it changes the way the opposing pitcher views hitters in that lineup. He gets to pick who he's going to take a chance on beating him. And now that you get Utley and Howard back, it limits the opposing pitcher's choices.
Well, Mayberry's up now with a run in here at the top of the 5th. Runners on first and second. Mayberry's 1 for 2. Ugla is keeping Utley close over towards second base. You see Freeman off the line at first. And Mayberry swings at the first pitch, a breaking ball, and he fouls it off. It's 0-1.
And this is a guy that has power. He's got 13 home runs on the year. As we look at Hudson's pitch count. I like this kid. I liked him last year. He got off to a slow start this year. But I think he's going to be overall a good big league player.
Well, he's been better lately as he fouls that pitch back. I mentioned coming in, he was 15 for his last 40. Add the base hit in the first inning. And he also has 13 home runs and 39 runs batted in. He's behind in the count, no balls and 2 strikes.
And now this is where he's got to use. He's 6'6", got long arms. This is where he has to protect, spoil the good pitches. You don't have to hit a homer here. The ball needs to be put in play.
Takes a little low, 1-2. John Mayberry, whose dad had a very successful major league career with the Royals, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Astros. He was picked in the first round 2 different times, once by Seattle and then after going to Stanford a second time by Texas. Here comes the 1-2 pitch from Hudson to right field, and Jason Hayward floats back battling the sun, and he makes the catch. So the Phillies do get a run on 2 hits. They leave a couple. Middle of the 5th inning on a hot afternoon here in Atlanta. Tim Hudson battling the Phillies and Ryan Howard. And the Phils have the advantage, 3-0.
Season, Tim Hudson and Chris Medlin. If the Braves were the wild card team, they could use one of those pitchers to start the wild card playoff and the other to start game 1 of the division series. They then could choose from some combination of Paul Maham, Mike Minor, Tommy Hanson, and possibly Ben Sheets.
back here in Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies. They haven't done too much of the tomahawk chop so far this afternoon. That's because Cliff Lee is kind of handcuffed Atlanta through the first 4.
Well, if you notice where Kratz is setting up, Cliff Lee has not missed the mitt much today.
He's ahead 0-1 to Ugla. And he just misses down low. There's Peter Moylan, who was just added to the roster today. The roster's expanded around Major League Baseball. And Moylan, who for so many years was such a big cog in the Braves bullpen, was brought up for the minor leagues. Look at that, 12 of 16 first pitch strikes. Franzen gets his first opportunity at third. What away. Today's game is sponsored by Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball in cities and towns across the country. What away. Paul Janisch is the batter. Along with Mitch Williams, I'm Tom McCarthy. We hope you're enjoying your Saturday wherever it is you're watching Fox Saturday Baseball. We've had a good one here. Cliff Lee and Tim Hudson.
Well, they've got Moylan up. Hudson's due up next. The only way I see Hudson coming out of this game is if Janisch finds a way to get on base. And even then, this might be a deke by Freddie Gonzalez, because if Janisch can find his way on base, they may just use Hudson to bunt him into scoring position.
Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Hudson is at 81 pitches so far through 5. Lee is at 52 pitches with 1 out into the 5th inning.
Well, both of these pitchers work quick. They're both around the zone.
Jeff Baker, who just arrived, he's the one with the bat and the gloves sitting next to Chipper Jones. Baker was acquired by the Braves yesterday from the Detroit Tigers. They were hoping he would get here for this ball game. And it looks like he has arrived. 2-1 pitch. Chopper back over the mound. Utley surrounds it. Makes a nice play, and there are 2 outs. 2 away. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for a game break. Matt.
Thomas, slugfest in D.C. Top of the 4th, bases loaded for Matt Carpenter. A 3-run double makes it 7-6 for the team who had scored just 1 run in 40 innings at the start of play. Jordan Zimmerman unable to finish 4. Shortest start of the year now. 8-6 Cardinals as we get you back to Tom and Mitch in Atlanta.
All right, Matt, we appreciate it. Jordan Zimmerman had been pitching very well for the Washington Nationals. He lost his last time out against the Phillies.
Well, he'd probably been. I mean, Strasburg gets all the ink and everything. Zimmerman had a better ERA than Strasburg. He obviously doesn't have the strikeouts or the win total, but very, very good pitcher.
0-1 the count to Hudson. 0-2 late on a 91-mile-an-hour fastball from Cliff Lee.
And I know, being a former pitcher, I didn't get many at bats, but I did not want to see anything off speed.
Probably didn't want to see an 0-2 count then.
No. I never let them get to it. I was gashing and slashing before they had a chance to get to that breaking ball or changeup.
There is the 0-2, and it was another fastball hit foul.
For me, the toughest pitch, being a pitcher, to stay on is a changeup, because you're swinging at arm speed. If Cliff Lee can get a changeup down in the zone right here, I just don't see any way that Hudson can lay off it.
He tries the curveball. It hasn't been as sharp today as it has been in past starts.
Well, he's kind of running off and leaving it.
Tim Hudson just looks like a hitter. And
wow.
He got him on a cutter. That was a nasty pitch. And the Braves go down in order. 4 in a row retired by Cliff Lee. On to the 6th inning here in Atlanta. The Phils up top by 3. MasterCard, proud supporter of Stand Up to Cancer, and sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward. On to the 6th inning we go here in Atlanta. 3-0 Phillies. You see single runs in the first, the third, and the fifth against Tim Hudson. He'll start the 6th with 81 pitches, and you see the comparison between Hudson and Lee. And Lee has just been sharper this afternoon.
Yeah, and Hudson starts Nix off there with a split.
Outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. 3 strikeouts apiece. Only 3 hits allowed by Lee, and the big number is the 59 under the pitch counts.
59, and then the 2 walks by Hudson.
Nix smokes 1 foul.
The last pitch that we saw Cliff Lee throw to Tim Hudson, I'm sure you called it a cutter. I'm sure Lee would call it a cutter. This is a slider. Oof. I like that pitch. I am not a fan of the cutter because unless you have absolute command over it, all it is a fastball that doesn't change planes and is flat and extremely hittable. That pitch right there is a slider.
How different are the grips between the two?
They're very similar.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how much do you want it to break. And if I'm Cliff Lee, I like that a whole lot more than I like that cutter because that pitch changed planes.
Nix chops 1 back through the middle, of base hit, so he's aboard for the first time. Now the Phillies now with 7 hits against Tim Hudson, and the leadoff batter's aboard. And that'll bring Kevin Franzen to the plate. Franzen's 0 for 2. He's flied out to left, and he's grounded out to shortstop. Tim Hudson is in his 9th year with the Atlanta Braves. He has 102 career victories with Atlanta after 6 years with Oakland. And it's amazing to think that out of the big 3, Mark Mulder's no longer playing. Barry Zito's been scuffling the last couple of years. And Tim Hudson has been the most successful out of the 3 as Luis Avilan is warming in the pen for the Braves. Would you have thought that when you thought about the big 3 when they played for Oakland?
Yeah, I probably really would have because Barry Zito's repertoire, the high fastball, big curveball, that's only going to play for so long. I did not think when he came to the National League that he was going to have success. I just didn't think over here. You can take that from the National League and go to the American League with it, but not the other way around.
2-0 is hit on the ground through the hole on the left side, so Franzen has a hit. Nick stops at second. The Phillies have something brewing here in the 6th inning.
The Phillies done a good job as we see Roger McDowell, the pitching coach, going out to talk to Hudson now. This is more of a visit just to give the reliever time to get ready, settle Hudson down a little bit. I'm not expecting him to stay in there much longer.
Matt Kemp, David Price, and Robinson Cano have visited the MLB Fan Cave this season. Check out all the player videos and watch exclusive music videos and interviews with your favorite performers and celebrities by visiting MLBFanCave.com. Follow at MLB Fan Cave on Twitter and like the MLB Fan Cave on Facebook. 2 on, nobody out. Eric Kratz is the batter. He's 0 for 2.
And if I'm Kratz, I'm sitting breaking ball.
He gets a pitch at the belt, a fastball.
Yeah. Hudson made him look really bad in his first at bat with breaking balls. Got him out in front in his second at bat to get him to ground out on a breaking ball. But there's some guys that just go up there and they look one thing and one thing only, and that's for the fastball.
There's a number up the third base line. You want to talk about a swing and bunt, and the bases will be loaded.
Take that, ball.
How about that? Eric Kratz is not the quickest cat.
This right here, that was just hit with the Sporting News.
And Chipper was playing way back because obviously Kratz has some pop.
And he's not a threat to bunt.
Nope.
If you gave him 100 chances to put a bunt down in that area, I'm not sure he could have done it.
Well, that swinging bunt loads up the bases now. Cliff Lee is the batter.
And there's no one happier right now than Cliff Lee. Because if he'd have come up with first and second or first and third, he'd have had the bunt. Now he gets to hack.
And the Braves will play the infield at double play depth with the bases loaded. And Lee waves at a changeup, and it's 0-1. There you see Ugla and Giannis, the second baseman and shortstop, playing at double play depth.
Freddie Freeman's actually back at double play depth. At first base, the only one in is Chipper. We got with Cliff Lee, the pitcher, being up, the outfield you would expect to be shallow, and they are. Reed Johnson in center is extremely shallow, but the one thing they got to remember, Cliff Lee's got a little pop, and if he squares one up and gets it in the gap, that's 3 points.
Outside, 2-1. We just saw those three outfielders. The best arm is the guy in right, Jason Hayward. And Martin Prado has 9 outfield assists this year. There's Hayward. Battle in the sun out in right. Prado's got 9 outfield assists. Part of that is a good arm. The other part is the accuracy of that arm.
Yeah, and being smart.
Swing and a miss, 2-2. Good breaking pitch.
4 pitches he's thrown to Cliff Lee in this at bat. 3 of them have been changeups. So Tim Hudson knows, because he likes to hit, he doesn't want to hit changeups. He knows Cliff Lee doesn't want to hit them. I would look at breaking ball right here from Hudson. I'm not looking for him to throw him a fastball.
Well, he did throw the fastball.
And Cliff was looking breaking ball too.
Sure was.
Because he was really tardy.
It's the game within the game. What is the hitter thinking? Can I outsmart him?
Exactly.
Rollins is on deck. I figure Freddie Gonzalez may bring the left-hander in to face Rollins. You have Nix at third, Franzen at second, and Kratz over at first. With nobody out here in the top of the 6th, Phillies up 3-0. Here comes the 2-2 pitch to Cliff Lee. Up high, 3-2.
And Lee's done a good job in this at bat of making him throw strikes. But Hudson also right now can do anything he wants. Fastball, changeup, or breaking ball. I don't know whether they're going first sign or second sign, so I can't tell you what he's doing with him. But
down the left field line, that'll slice out of play. Went fastball with him. And Hudson's on the doorstep now of 100 pitches. That was number 98. Have to figure this is his last hitter, right?
I would think so. You got a 3-2 count right here. A backdoor breaking ball. Cliff Lee's going to take it. And you just got to hope you can get it enough of the plate to where the umpire will call it a strike.
And ball 4, it forces in a run. He went with a fastball that just missed off the inside part of the plate. Lance Nix scores, and the Phillies are on top 4-0.
And there's a reason he didn't get that call. Because McCann is set up away. See how McCann's away? The pitch, see how I had to reach for it on the inner third? That's why he called it a ball. Oh. Had McCann been set in there, we look at the overhead view.
Just off the inside part of the plate. Phillies get a run. The bases remain loaded. Tim Hudson's afternoon is done. We have a pitching change here in Atlanta. Jimmy Rollins is up with the bases loaded here at the top of the 6th inning. The Phillies up 4-0, nobody out. Luis Avilan is the new pitcher for the Braves. He's done a very good job in 17 ball games. 20 strikeouts in 21 2/3. Tim Hudson not pleased about the last sequence of pitches to Cliff Lee that forced in another run with a bases loaded walk.
Well, and it was a close pitch. There's no two ways about it. As Jimmy pops up at the first baseman, Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman puts it away. Well, Tim Hudson is a competitor. This is what he said to Angel Hernandez. He probably went back and looked at the pitch and thought it was a strike. We had the overhead shot. It looked like it was off the plate, but I think your synopsis, Mitch, was pretty clear that it looked like he missed his spot.
Well, he did miss his spot, and that's why I never wanted a catcher to set up in, to set up away, set up in the middle. And I'll hope I catch a corner. If an umpire is set up over the inside shoulder of the catcher, a lot of times he'll be blinded to that outside pitch. But McCann was set up away and had to reach back for it. It made it look like a ball.
Well, Ty Wigginton will pinch hit for the Phillies, and he pops one up. Third base side, foul territory, and Jones watches it go back into the seats. Well, here's the pitch again.
Look where McCann's set, and he's set up on the outer half, outer third of the plate, but look at how far he has to reach. You make a catcher reach that far, there is no way the umpire's calling that a strike.
Well, the line so far on Hudson, he's still responsible for the 3 base runners.
Had McCann been set up in the middle and received that ball, Cliff Lee's getting rung up.
0-1 the count to Wigginton. Batting for Pierre. And a change up down and away. Franzen's over at third. Kratz at second. And Lee at first. The guy at first might be the fastest of the 3.
No, Cliff can run.
Ground ball softly hit. Jones goes to second for 1. They have a chance for 2. They don't get it. And Franzen scores, and it's 5-0 Phillies.
That's a good job of Wigginton running that ball out. That's the difference between another run or being out of the inning. And Cliff Lee did not do a very good job of trying to take out the second baseman on this play.
He's lucky he didn't get hit in the head with the ball.
One thing I can say, pitchers do not like to slide. Now watch what Cliff Lee does. He just kind of puts the right blinker on and says, I'll just go around this action here.
Well, 2 runs have scored here in the 6th. It's 5-0 Phillies. And Chase Utley is the batter. Utley an RBI doubles last time up. Lee will catch his breath. Yeah, the first pitch upstairs, 1-0. Avilan has been added to a bullpen that was already thick with left-handers. He's a kid from Caracas, Venezuela, who last year in Double-A went 4-8 as a starter and a reliever. But he joins Eric O'Flaherty and Johnny Venters already in this bullpen. And both those guys are outstanding. And he's been very good, according to Freddie Gonzalez, for his pen.
Well, if you got some left-handers out there, which the Braves do, that can come in and get left-handed hitters. In order to go through the National League East, you better have some left-handed relievers that can get left-handed hitters out.
No question.
The first pitch, Avila threw to Utley. Utley straightened up like it was way in on him, and that was just a job of setting that pitcher up to try and come in there again.
Uggla throws out Utley. 2 runs scored for the Phils. They lead at 5-0 as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Giants and Cubs. San Francisco started play with a 4.5 game lead in the NL West. Tim Lincecum struck out 7 in the Giants' 5-2 win. Orioles and Yankees separated by just 2 games in the AL East at the start of play. J.J. Hardy couldn't handle Nick Swisher's ground ball in the 7th. Yankees win 4-3. Jays and Rays for the 2nd straight game in the series. The final outcomes on a play at the plate. Rays hold on and win as we get you back out to the ballpark.
All right, Matt, Omar Vizquel just couldn't get across the plate in time for the Toronto Blue Jays. Lance Nix moves from right field to left field for the Phillies. And Nate Scherholtz, who was just activated today off the disabled list, is out in right field for the Phillies as Cliff Lee begins the 6th. Martin Prado leads it off. Prado's 0 for 2. He has popped to short and he has struck out. Phillies touched Tim Hudson for 5 runs in 5+ innings. That ball's hit hard but foul. Hudson had been 7-0 with an ERA of 3.19 in his last 10 games. And part of our summary includes Rollins' solo home run, Utley's double to right center field, and Mayberry, who got it going in the 1st.
Well, timely hitting.
Timely hitting, and that's
Good
our Jeep
pitching.
game summary. Chopper to third. Franzen charges. Tough play. 1 away. That was a nice play by Kevin Franzen.
And he made it look really easy, too. You watch him stay down on that ball, and he kept his head down till the ball was in his glove. More times than not, when guys miss those balls, it's because they jerk their head up before they've actually fielded the ball.
Well, Reed Johnson is 0 for 2. Lee has kept the top of the order in check today. They're 0 for 7, the top 3 hitters. Johnson is grounded out to second, flied out to right. Playing center field today for Michael Bourne, who's just getting the day off. In fact, Reed Johnson may wind up playing tomorrow in right field. Phillies have another left-hander on the mound, and he may start to give Hayward a breather. Just off the inside corner, 2-0.
That's 2 pretty good pitches to start this at bat. One down in the middle, called a ball, and then one just off the inside corner, called a ball.
There's Michael Bourne, Mitch, who will be a free agent at the end of this year. He had a tremendous first half. Second half hasn't been as good. He has struck out over 100 times overall. Braves have still kept on winning, but he hasn't been the same player, but he's a talented young man.
Well, I'll tell you this, when Philadelphia had him and I was doing pre and post game for Philadelphia, I never thought he could be an everyday player because I didn't believe he'd ever hit left-handers, and he's done nothing but prove me wrong over the last 5 years.
He's turned himself into a Gold Glover too, and as we mentioned, he's a free agent at the end of this year, and he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow when the Braves take on the Phillies here at Turner Field.
And right now, Cliff Lee in a 3-1 count. The one thing you don't want to do is walk people. So here's a BP fastball. Do what you can do with it.
And he grounds it to second. And Johnson's retired. 2 outs here in the 6th. And now Jason Hayward. Hayward's 0 for 2. His at-bats have been pretty quick. We haven't had a chance to really talk about his success this year. With 24 home runs and 69 runs batted in, it's been kind of a renaissance compared to what he did last year. And Freddie Gonzalez says that he has done a great job of recognizing and not swinging at the pitches he swung at last year, and swinging at pitches like that, and he gets a base hit.
Well, he had a huge hole in his swing. Middle up, or anywhere up on the inner third of the plate, he just could not get to it. But he couldn't lay off. He's done a much better job this year of laying off that pitch. You see this pitch, that's just belt high down the middle. And you see his head down on the ball. He's a big, tall kid that when he's able to drop his hands in that slot, he's got power, but he cannot get to the ball up, so he needed to learn to lay off it. That's what he's done a much better job of this year.
And Greg Walker, the hitting coach for the Braves, has done a very good job with him. A chopper toward the hole, just beyond the reach of Rollins. Back-to-back hits for the Braves. Chipper's 2 for 3.
Yeah, it's not the bat that is the reason why Chipper's retiring. It's the playing in the field, and you kind of wonder, could he go to an American League team in DH?
I've thought about that.
But there's some guys that cannot make that adjustment. DH is a position. It's a position that has to be learned. If you're not in the game, in the flow of the game, there was a guy that played in Philly, Pat Burrell, went to the American League to DH in Tampa and was horrible at it. Got his release from Tampa. San Francisco win a World Series. There's some guys that adjust to it. You saw it with Adam Dunn last year in Chicago. Horrible year. 12 homers. This year, leading all of baseball in home runs. It's a learned position, just like any other position.
Well, Freddie Freeman waves at a curveball after Chipper Jones picks up career hit number 2,710 to put runners on first and second.
Cliff Lee really needs to bear down here and get this final out of this inning. This is a shutdown inning. The Phillies put up 2 runs last inning. He's only thrown 70 pitches.
A lot of strikes. Charlie Manuel had to go to his bullpen early last night because Roy Halladay was under the weather. They still wound up winning that ball game. No balls, 1 strike to count to Freeman. And the pitch. Another curveball. Kratz keeps it in front, so Hayward stays at second. Freddie Freeman just 22 years old, and he'll eclipse last year's walk total sometime in the next week or so. And you watch him on an everyday basis. There are not many guys that are this age that have the discipline at the plate that Freeman has. Now, it's a little different against lefties sometimes than right-handers.
Well, the left-handed breaking ball going away from you. To me, he reminds me of a 6'5", 6'6" Chase Utley. Very short, compact swing.
Two balls, 1 strike to count. The pitch outside with a cutter, just missed. It's 3-1.
Well, then, if I'm Cliff Lee, if you're looking in the on-deck circle with Brian McCann and knowing what he's done to your team this year, you got to go after Freeman.
Nobody's up in the bullpen. Antonio Bastardo is stretching there, left side of your screen. Fastball on the hands, foul territory. Franzen gives it a look, and it's out of play. So 3-2 with 2 outs. It's a 5-run lead for the Phillies. Lee.
Well, if I'm Freeman, knowing that I got McCann, Stanton on deck, I'm looking nothing but dead red. So me being, if I was Cliff Lee, I'm throwing a breaking ball, thinking that Freeman thinks he's getting a fastball.
Runners will be off on this pitch, and Lee turns back. Not a bad idea.
I used to love that move. Anytime you can get an out and a guy ain't got a bat in his hand.
Well, there's ball 4, and the bases are now loaded. It's the 11th walk of the year for Freeman against the Phillies.
We're going to take a look at the last time these two met in the 4th inning and what Cliff Lee did. Breaking ball, first pitch ball. Jammed him, broke his bat with a fastball, way up with a bad breaking ball, way up with a fastball, and then made too good a pitch, hung it. He hung it so bad that McCann popped out. He got away with one. I don't recommend making that mistake right here in this at bat.
2 grand slams already this year for McCann against the Phillies. The base is loaded. The Phillies on top by 5, and he fires a fastball up high. It's 1-0. That may have been a cutter.
It was a cutter on the outer third, and Angel's not giving anything on the outer half of the plate. But if I'm Cliff Lee, I'm staying away. Brian McCann, you cannot throw it hard enough inside for him.
Got him to pop it up. Shallow left field. Long run for Rollins and Nixon. Rollins is there to put it away. And Brian McCann 0 for 3 today. Leaves him loaded here in the 6th. Lee works out of the jam. Will return to Atlanta after a word from your local Fox station. As we go to the top of the 7th inning, Ryan Howard will lead it off against Luis Avilan. And the first pitch is taken low. It's 1 ball, no strike. Along with Mitch Williams, I'm Tom McCarthy. Phillies have been able to put single runs on the board in the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, and then 2 in the 6th. And Howard grounds one to the right side. Giannis is there, the shortstop. And 1 away. Major League Baseball on Fox, presented by MasterCard on a beautiful day here in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to talk about a city that's filled with activity, things going on here this weekend.
Oh,
all the football games,
baseball games. It's a great town, Atlanta. And it's even greater when the humidity isn't high like it isn't today. They don't call it Hot Atlanta for nothing.
That's because you're sitting in an air conditioning with a fan blowing at you the whole time.
This is true.
With 1 out, Mayberry 1 for 3, singled home a run in the 1st. Avilan is on in relief of Tim Hudson. A change up for a strike.
And if this is what Avilan's been able to do for Freddie Gonzalez is give him a couple of innings and just keep the game where it's at. Another changeup, back-to-back changeups. You see Peter Moylan warming up in the bullpen.
Freddie Gonzalez, Carlos Tosca, his bench coach, the former manager of the Blue Jays, sitting next to him. Very successful minor league manager. Outside, 2 balls and 1 strike. Phillies came into this ball game 26-19 since the All-Star break. In fact, the top teams in the National League since the break, the Reds, 34 wins. Washington 31, Atlanta 28, San Diego 28, San Francisco 28, and the Phillies with 26 wins. Over to the right side.
Well, everybody knows it's a better ball club than they played.
With 2 outs here in the 7th, let's go to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for a game break. Matt?
Tom, Cards and Nats, this is a wild one. Matt Holliday, David Freese, Adam LaRoche, and now Danny Espinosa have all homered. Nats starter Jordan Zimmerman couldn't make it through 4. It was his worst of the year, and now Kyle Osh has allowed a season-high 7 runs, and this one's still, as they say, in progress. Tom and Mitch, back to you guys.
Now 8-7, the score there. 5-0 here. Cardinals have been banged up like a lot of teams. They just lost Rafael Furcal, and they've probably lost him for the season with a strain to his UCL ligament.
Yeah. And that's a big injury for a very strong-armed shortstop.
To the East, the Nationals 6.5 games up. I think a lot of folks wondered, well, the heat of September, will it bug them at all? And we're just beginning September, but August certainly didn't bother them.
No. I mean, they lost 4 straight to Philadelphia, went through a 5-game losing streak, but they've rebounded really nicely from that.
Heck of a job by Avilan. 1-2-3 go the Phils. It's time to stretch here at Turner Field with the Phillies on top by 5. Is sponsored by Lexus. The Golden Opportunity Sales Event is here, and by the Degree Adrenaline Series. Oh, the great Hank Aaron, one of his statues or his statue that's outside Turner Field. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Phillies on top 5-0. Cliff Lee has been outstanding. He worked out of a bases loaded jam in the 6th, and now he'll face Dan Uggla, Paul Janisch in the pitcher's spot for the Braves. And he is firing strikes one after another. 54 strikes, 24 balls. And that's gotten him ahead. It's no balls and 1 strike.
And that's the thing. When you have a 5-run lead, now you want to fire strikes. Hitters can't hit a 5-run homer when no one's on base. 91-mile-an-hour cutter right there for a strike. Now he's got the opportunity to expand the zone. He struck him out earlier with a curveball. Bounce one.
And a called strike 3 right on the outside part of the plate. Uggla doesn't think so. Yeah, there's one away here in the 7th. Well, now it's time for the Just for Men Auto Stop Foolproof Stats.
And as you look at Cliff Lee's numbers, 6 1/3 today, 5 hits, no runs, obviously no earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 punch outs.
Well, just as the Phillies can count on Cliff Lee, you can count on Just for Men Auto Stop for foolproof results.
The last out in the 6th inning again. Brian McCann, who's killed them all year, had the opportunity in this at bat, bases loaded, and Cliff just manages to run a fastball up and in on him. McCann does not miss that pitch very often.
No, the Braves are now 1 for 12 with 16 runners left on base in this series of these 2 games. 0-2 the count to Janisch with Jeff Baker newly acquired in the on deck circle. There he is.
And if you're Freddie Gonzalez, at what point do you start to go, is this starting to resemble last year? Because they had a bigger lead last year than they've got this year in the wild card.
A little high, 1-2. Well, the difference is, according to Freddie, is that they're healthier, that they're much more confident because they're a year older.
Yeah.
And they've got a little more depth as they get into September, particularly with the rotation, with Medlin being added to the rotation.
Well, Medlin's been awesome for them, but the thing that hurt them last year, they didn't hit, and their bullpen kind of fell apart. Well, their Mr. Invincible, Craig Kimbrell, who has been automatic, 2 blown saves going into last night's game, gives up a home run to tie the game. And that, if I'm Freddie Gonzalez, am I snake bit or what? Because this guy has been just awesome all year long, and this happens.
Another ground ball foul, and it remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. See Kimbrell and Aroldis Chapman. Those 2 guys have been just unbelievable for the Braves and the Reds so far this year.
Their numbers, strikeout wise, are Bugs Bunny-ish. I mean, they're right around almost 2 an inning.
Another foul ball, and it remains 1-2. Janisch has popped out to Lee. He's grounded out to second. Here comes the 1-2 pitch. Try to break and pitch. Not a bad idea.
Real good idea.
And it's 2-2 now to Janisch.
I still believe that if he elevates his fastball in the middle, which Cliff Lee has unbelievable command of his fastball, if he elevates it in the middle of the plate, Janisch will have a hard time taking it, and he will not be able to hit it if it's up enough.
Now let's see what they do. The 2-2 pitch. That was down, and he fouls it away into the second deck.
At 94 miles an hour, that's the hardest Cliff's been all day.
Well, there's Chris Medlin, who is riding a streak of 28 1/3 scoreless innings for the Braves. Began the year in the bullpen, and kind of like Steven Strasburg, he had an innings limit that the Braves had in mind, but they went the other way. They decided to use him out of the pen and then start him at some point. And when Tommy Hanson went down, that's when he was put in the rotation. Over to third. Got a foul ball picked by Franzen. Well, Medlin has been lights out.
I mean, ridiculously lights out. And I broke him down the other day, and the similarities between, not body type or anything like that, Maddox. He has a swing back sinker that he can throw at the left-handed hitter's hip and freeze that left-handed hitter and it catch the inside part of the plate. His is the best since Maddox.
That says an awful lot. Here's Rollins, who puts it away for the out here in the 7th inning.
The one thing that separates Medlin from Maddox is he has a wipeout curveball. There's that swing back sinker that, I mean, there's his breaking ball. Changeup. The changeup, swing back, and he also has the ability to elevate a four-seam fastball. And he's got lightning quick feet where he picked off 2 guys in San Diego.
Freddie Gonzalez said he thought he was going to be able to pick off another one in that game. He almost had him.
And I like the way they've done it. It'll be a whole lot easier for Freddie Gonzalez, say they make the postseason, to know he's got Chris Medlin than if I'm Davey Johnson or Mike Rizzo with the Washington Nationals and they're fighting to get into the playoffs, and they do get into the playoffs and have to walk in that clubhouse and say, oh, by the way, our ace is going to be unavailable for the postseason.
Yeah, different styles. They went at it very differently. 0-1 the count to Jeff Baker, just acquired yesterday by the Braves. A swing and a miss. It's 0-2. Baker was with the Detroit Tigers, who were also involved in a race for October. They must have felt like surplus, and Frank Wren wanted to get an extra bat off the bench. The general manager of the Braves felt like they were left-handed heavy, and then the right-hander Baker could help. The 0-2 curveball and a foul tip into the glove of Kratz. A 1-2-3 7th inning for Cliff Lee. He's been outstanding as we go to the 8th. proud to support Boys and Girls Club of America, a place where youth can reach their full potential as productive, caring, responsible citizens. To learn more, please visit greatfutures.org/Fox Sports. Top of the 8th inning, Peter Moylan is the new pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And Kevin Franzen swings at the first pitch. One quick out. Peter Moylan, who back in September of last year had surgery to repair an injured labrum and rotator cuff.
And shoulder surgeries nowadays, you hear arm surgery, you're hoping it's elbow and not shoulder.
I shouldn't say surgery, but he had the injury to both, and he's battled back. He spent some time in the minor leagues this year. You want to talk about a guy who was a workhorse for the Braves during their run for divisional crowns. Eric Kratz now the batter. He's 1 for 5. A.J. Rosenberg is warming up in the pen for the Phillies. Kratz reached on an infield single his last time up. A little dribbler up the third base line that helped the Phils score a couple runs. And it's 2-0. We haven't talked a whole lot about Kratz and Franzen just to say what an impact they've had for this Phillies club. Talking to Eric yesterday, he's from Telford, Pennsylvania. He grew up a Phillies fan, watched you with the '93 Phillies from Veterans Stadium. And I asked him yesterday what this has been like to be part of it, not only with the team he grew up rooting for, but also to be part of it with Kevin Franzen, who he was in the minors with the last year and a half or so with the Phillies. And he told me they were roommates. They were always trying to keep each other up over the last year or so. And he said it's extra special to produce, but then watch Franzen produce along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're going to try and pull positives out of this season, and it's not over necessarily for the Phillies. As I said, they can play well enough and maybe sneak into a wild card position. But if I'm Charlie Manuel, I'm trying to find out, what am I going to have next year? Well, they found out they got a backup catcher. He stepped in when Chooch Ruiz got hurt, hit 8 homers, hitting in. That's a great backup catcher. If you got a backup catcher that can receive the ball, call a game, and every now and then hit the ball out of the ballpark, you're onto a backup catcher.
Well, he has the count in his favor, 3-2 with 1 out and the pitch. Back toward the box, off the glove of Moylan, picked up by Giannis, 2 outs. 1-6-3 on the put out. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for another game break. Matty?
Got Tom, Cardinals and Nationals, bottom of the 6th inning, 2 runners on. Ryan Zimmerman singles home Jason Worth. And watch what happens here. Yadi Molina throws down to second to try to get Zimmerman. Bryce Harper ends up scoring all the way from first in the spirit of college football's opening weekend. The Cards and Nats posting some football-style numbers in D.C. Tom, back to you and Mitch.
All right, Matt, we appreciate that. And so far in his rookie season, we've seen a lot of that from Bryce Harper. It's what separates him from a lot of other players. Dominic Brown will pinch hit for Cliff Lee. So Lee's day is done after 7 strong innings. But Brown takes low. It's 1 ball and no strikes. Speaking of college football, coming up in about a half hour, University of Hawaii against the #1 USC Trojans. Norm Chow, the head coach of the University of Hawaii. Freeman will win the race to the bag. A 1-2-3 inning for Peter Moylan. Phillies will go to the bullpen as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning on top by 5. 5-0. They'll go to the bullpen for Cliff Lee, who went 7 strong innings, struck out 5. B.J. Rosenberg out of the University of Louisville is on to replace Cliff Lee. There's Lee soaking it in. He doesn't ice after games. He just sits and watches.
I'm with Cliff on that no icing. I never iced ever. I know a lot of people believe in it. I never believed in it. It made me stiff.
Back-to-back solid outings now for Lee. He's now gone 7 innings in 17 of his 24 starts. But it's 1 ball and 1 strike to Prado. Prado's 0 for 3. He's popped out. He has struck out. He's also grounded to third. It'll be Prado, Johnson, and Hayward here at the bottom of the 8th inning for the Braves. Chipper Jones will follow Jason Hayward. At the knees, 2-2.
Good pitch right there.
Miguel Batista, the veteran, warming up in the bullpen for the Braves.
This must be one of the teams Miguel hasn't pitched for.
I was thinking the same thing when
My
I saw him
goodness, he's like Waldo.
Started the year with the Mets this season. 2-2 the count. This has been a part of the ball game that's been an issue for the Phillies. The 8th inning, it doesn't matter what the score is. It could be a 1-run game, a 2-run game, a 5-run game. Prado sends one to the air deep down the left field line. Fair or foul, it is a fair ball home run. A solo shot from Martin Prado, and the Braves are on the board here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
This is one of the things I'm just not a big advocate of. Trust me, the Braves bench is over there doing cartwheels and Cliff Lee is out of this game. His pitch count wasn't so elevated that he couldn't come back out, but this Braves lineup wants him out of this game. They couldn't do anything with him. They don't care if Cy Young comes out to pitch. It's someone else other than Cliff Lee.
Well, that is the 42nd extra base hit allowed by the Phillies bullpen in the 8th inning this year.
That's an amazing stat to me.
67 runs, 64 earned runs in the 8th inning. Now the count is 0-1 to Reed Johnson. Johnson's 0 for 3. He's grounded out twice, and he's fly to right. Johnson on the hands, a soft line drive to Rollins, and 1 gone here in the bottom of the 8th. Here is our Lexus in-game box. And this one is for the Atlanta Braves. Well, just 1 extra base hit. That's the home run you just saw from Martin Prado. Chipper Jones and Freddie Freeman each with 2 hits. Charlie Manuel making the slow walk out to the hill with Jason Hayward due up. The Phillies will go to Antonio Bastardo. We've got a pitching change here at Turner Field. Phillies on top 5-1, and they'll go get a left-hander. card. From Turner Field, another pitching change for the Phillies. Antonio Bastardo is next up for the Phils here in the 8th. And Bastardo's on because Jason Hayward, a left-hander, is due up. And, you know, during the course of time, you'd rather have Chipper Jones bat right-handed if you can.
Yeah.
So the numbers on Bastardo, he is not having the same year this year that he had a season ago when he was one of the more dominant left-handers in the game.
And you look at his numbers, and they're deceiving. His ERA is over 5. He doesn't give up a hit an inning, strikes out more than a guy an inning. It's got to be a lot of timely hitting when he's been on the mound.
Hayward today is 1 for 3. Robbed on an excellent play by Franzen his first time up. And he takes the first pitch for a strike, and it's 0-1.
And that's the pitch that Jason Hayward has learned to lay off. That fastball elevated on the inner third of the plate that he can't get to. Why swing at it?
Another fastball, this one wide, 1-1 the count. Chipper Jones waits on deck. Left-handers hitting just $186 against Bastardo this year. So even though he's had some trouble, he has been effective against lefties, and it's partly because of that pitch right there, the slider, which he throws at a few different speeds.
He's got a very good slider. You see Hayward way out in front of this pitch, very well located, down. Now, if I'm Bastardo, I'm elevating. I'm going to see just how disciplined Jason Hayward is with two strikes on him. Will he go after the ball up?
1-2. They go with a fastball.
But that ball's out away from him. If he can get that ball middle up rather than out and up, I don't think Hayward can get the barrel to the ball. But judging by the swing he took on the breaking ball, I'm betting Bastardo goes back to the breaking ball.
No, it looks like fastball.
Fastball. Kratz wants a fastball.
Oh, 2 strikes. He was protecting everything. Fouls it back. It remains 1 ball, 2 strikes. During his career, Bastardo is averaging just over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings.
And that is exceptionally. Here comes the slider.
Ground ball foul past Terry Pendleton in the first base coach's box.
And I got to wonder right there if he's tipping hitters that he's throwing a breaking ball. Because once he comes set right there, he spent a lot more time sitting there with his hands together with his breaking ball than he does with his fastball.
Up and in with the fastball at 90 miles an hour, 2-2 the count.
Now, if he can start that breaking ball down the middle and break it off away from him, be a hard pitch for Jason Hayward to lay off here.
Because it starts in the strike zone?
Yes.
Now the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him with a slider. That's what we're talking about with the variation of speeds. That one was a little harder than the one he threw earlier in the count.
Location. This pitch is nowhere near a strike. But you do not get big league hitters out with strikes. If they're swinging at it and it's a strike, pretty good chance it's getting hit.
So 2 outs here in the 8th inning. Chipper Jones 2 for 3 this afternoon. Batting right-handed, he's a percentage point higher, 1 percentage point higher, average-wise, than he is at batting left-handed. 305 right-handed, 304 left-handed. His power, though, particularly during the early part of his career, majority of his power comes from
bats left-handed because they're predominantly pitching is right-handed in baseball. And there's that 82-mile-an-hour breaking ball, and you see how far out in front Chipper is in front of this pitch. Watch just way out in front of the breaking ball.
One ball, one strike to count. Another slider, and it's in the dirt, 2-1. Talk about Chipper's power. The average is a home run every 8 at-bats from the left side of the plate, and a home run every 18 at-bats from the left side of the plate, and a home run every 23 at-bats from the right side of the plate.
The consistency is what amazes me. The 304 and 305 to me is astonishing over the length of his career.
It was after a high fastball, and it's 2-2.
Now, if I'm Eric Kratz right here, I'm looking for a way. How can I get Chipper out without a swing? Backdoor that slider. Get Chipper to give up on it, because this is not a guy you want to try and go over the middle of the plate with. Set up on the outer third and try and backdoor a breaking ball.
Well, they're going to go toward the outer half of the plate. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He got it with a fastball. And Chipper Jones is down on strikes to wrap up this 8th inning. Bastardo back-to-back strikeouts to finish up the Braves. We go to the 9th. Turner Field. Phillies on top 5-1. Batista 31 games this year between the Braves and the Mets. 1-3, a 4.91 earned run average. And he'll face Jimmy Rollins, Nate Chase, and Chase Utley. Those are the guys due up. Phillies 5 runs on 9 hits so far, including a home run by Rollins and a single by Rollins back in the first. Chopper left side. That's going to be a tough play. Giannis bare hands, throws on the run, not in time. Third hit of the day for Rollins. That's a heck of a play by Giannis.
Great play. Just Jimmy still got that speed.
Now it's time for the Burger King Smooth Player of the Game, and it's Cliff Lee. He was outstanding today through 7 innings. He had everything working, Mitch.
Well, everything was working, and that was what was working most, location. Wherever Eric Kratz put that glove, that's where that ball ended up.
Our Smooth Player of the Game, Cliff Lee, 7 innings today. He struck out 5, allowed 5 hits. Nate Scherholtz will bat for the first time this afternoon with Rollins over at first. Scherholtz just activated today. He broke his toe a couple weeks ago after the Phillies acquired him from the Giants.
Did they call a tow truck?
Well, it was his big toe. So they must have.
Sergeant Holka?
Yeah. Oh. 0-1 the count. Popped him up. Freddie Freeman, the first baseman. And he puts it away. What away. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian for another MLB Network Studios for a game break. Matt.
Tom, Angels and Mariners, and here's why King Felix may be on his way to his first loss since June 12th. Top of the 8th, Angels down to run. Kyle Seager can't handle this Albert Pujols shot that tied it at 2. 2 batters later, Mark Trumbo singles in 2 more. Felix done after 7 1/3. Angels on top in the 9th. We go back to you guys, Tom and Mitch in Atlanta.
7 1/3, 9 hits, and those runs that Hernandez allowed, I don't think he's allowed that in the last month.
No, he's one of the elites in our game today. He has everything. Command, stuff, moxie, scared of nothing. As we watch Miguel Batista, you know, every time you play for a new team, you get a new piece of luggage. Miguel will not have to buy a suitcase ever.
And he's got a variety of colors, too.
I mean, when you retire and you show up at the airport with a Toronto Blue Jays suitcase, they might look at you funny, but still a nice piece of luggage.
He can pass that along to his heirs, too.
I was invited to leave quite a few places when I was playing.
And they packed your bags for you?
Yeah, they would give you the suitcase. I've still got a couple of them. That's how I kept track how many teams released me. How many suitcases are in the closet?
Well, this is the 11th MLB team for Batista. 12 organizations overall. He's a very interesting guy. He's written books.
Starter, reliever, it doesn't matter. He's done it all.
Acquired in 1988 by the Expos as a non-drafted free agent. 0-1 the count to Utley with Rollins leading off first. And 1 ball and 1 strike, a fastball a little low.
I kind of compare him. He's like the right-handed equivalent of Darren Oliver,
who has retired 8 million times over the last 5 years.
I don't know if he's retired, but he's had one of his best years this year.
Oh, he's doing great. And he was good for the Rangers, too.
Yeah.
He was good for the Mets. There goes Rollins, and the pitch is line. Knocked down by Freddie Freeman, and a foul ball, according to Angel Hernandez, the home plate umpire. It's Hernandez's call before the ball gets to the bag, and he called it foul. Yeah, Ed Hickox didn't see it because he was getting out of the way.
Chicken. I'm not blaming Ed one bit. I'm flat out laying. I'm not getting hit.
Ed Hickox, who is a detective during the offseason down in Daytona Beach.
What an interesting couple of careers.
Seriously. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count to Utley.
Being that he's a detective, you think he knows when Jimmy's going to steal?
If given enough time. If he's over there long enough, he can have a conversation with him. 2-2 the count. players, umpires, they don't generally do anything in the offseason, I would think, anymore.
I love that he's a detective. That's the one thing. If I couldn't have been a ball player, that was one thing I was leaning towards.
There goes Rollins. The pitch is a called strike 3. The throw offline. Utley is called out on strikes, and there are 2 outs.
That's a good pitch.
25 steals now for Rollins.
And the problem here is, I mean, it's a good pitch. It's strike 3. McCann did not get the grip when he first went into his glove. He kind of had to double pump it.
What do they do with Howard here?
Be very careful. You got a right-hander and Mayberry Jr. on deck. If I'm Miguel Batista, Miguel Batista's been around forever. They're going to walk him. So for the second time today, Ryan Howard's being intentionally walked.
So Howard's walked 3 times overall. He was intentionally walked once last night. Now that was in the 10th inning, and eventually that guy hit a 3-run home run to give the Phillies an 8-5 lead and a victory.
Well, they're intentionally walking Ryan here, and the guy that hit the 3-run homer last night to win it is coming up.
Now there's ball 4. Mayberry's coming up. Mayberry today is 1 for 4 in an RBI single back in the first inning. Neither runner being held on. Howard could take a longer lead off first. Freddie Freeman's playing off the bag.
Basically, Ryan can get off as far as Freddie Freeman.
And a slider for a strike. It's 0-1. For those of you tuning in for the debut of Fox College Saturday with Aaron Andrews, Eddie George, and Joey Harrington, we'll take you there immediately at the conclusion of our game. And then after that, USC, the #1 team in the country, will take on the University of Hawaii. USC has Hawaii this week, and then they have Syracuse next week.
I'm a born and bred Trojan fan.
Chipper Jones throws out Mayberry. Phillies leave a couple. Time for the bottom of the 9th inning. The Braves down by 4 with Freddie Freeman due to lead it off. Final game of this series. Coverage starts at 4:30 Eastern with Chip Carey and Joe Simpson. Cole Hamels against Paul Maholm. Maholm's been really good for the Braves, and let's face it, Hamels has been a Cy Young Award candidate for most of the 2012 season.
Absolutely. They both need to pitch well.
Hamels missed his last start because of a stomach virus. That was on Thursday, or I should say Wednesday. Freddie Freeman will lead it off. Antonio Bastardo stays in the ball game for the Phillies. Swing and a miss at the first pitch, 0-1. Freeman is 2 for 2. He walked his last time up. Phillies have one of the best closers in the game in Jonathan Papelbon. This is not a save situation. Papelbon recorded his 250th career save in last night's ball game. One of the youngest in baseball to do that.
Well, he's what you call a lockdown closer, and he ain't all there. I think it's a requirement if you're going to do that job that you can't be all there.
Well, as we speak, Papelbon is warming up next to Josh Lindblom. Papelbon 58, Lindblom is 43. 1-2 the count to Freeman. Swing and a miss. He got him with a slider. 3 straight strikeouts for Antonio Bastardo. 2 outs to go here. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for another game break on the Nationals and the Cards.
And it's been a while when top of the 8th, the man on for the pinch hitter, 7-time All-Star Carlos Beltran, and we are tied at 9 in D.C. Cardinals trying to snap a 4-game slide in our nation's capital. Tom, Mitch, back to you guys in Atlanta.
St. Louis 9.5 games out behind Cincinnati in the National League Central, but the second representative in the wild card right now. Nationals couldn't find any offense Cardinals couldn't find any offense the last few days. Well, they found it.
Yeah, and their pitching staff is
giving it right back.
Whacked around a lot today.
Brian McCann is 0 for 3.
Well, the only way Papelbon comes in this game is if 2 guys get on. Charlie, if Bastardo doesn't get Brian McCann, may bring Lindblom in to face Dan Uggla. But it becomes a save situation if 2 runners get on base. That would be when we'd see Papelbon.
Two and 1 the count as McCann fouls it off. Well, the wild card standings, Phillies 8 games back. If they win today, they'd be 5 games under the 500 mark for the first time since the 27th of June. And we have seen stranger things happen.
Yes,
Dodgers,
we have.
Diamondbacks, Brewers, and Phillies, all obviously with games to be played, are in the picture. It's fuzzy, but they're in the picture. Ground ball right side. Bastardo's 1 out away from getting through this 9th inning and sealing the deal for the Phillies, who took game 1 8-5 in extra innings and now lead game 2 5-1.
Well, now I think Charlie's going to obviously let Bastardo face Uggla. And I would imagine that they'll sit Lindblom down, keep Papelbon up in case 2 guys get on.
Yeah, both guys just standing on the mound right now. And that's the pitch that's caused some issues for him.
It's that breaking ball. Like I said, Bastardo's numbers, when you look at his numbers, they're confusing. More than a strikeout an inning, hits per inning are down, but his ERA is elevated.
Throws another good slider, and it's 0-2. So no balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Here's where you elevate your fastball to either set up going back to another high fastball or set up your breaking ball. But here you waste a pitch.
There comes the 0-2 pitch to Uggla. Ground ball left side. Bastardo off the mound. Tough play. And he throws it right on by Ryan Howard. Probably should have just put that one in his back pocket. Well, Uggla was hustling all the way. And he gets to second. So they'll score an infield single and then an E1. You can smell the hit.
Well, when you're struggling, trust me, you can smell a hit if you're a hitter. You don't care what kind of hit it is.
Giannis is 0 for 3.
Papelbon will be in this game.
First pitch at the knees, 0-1. David Ross, one of the better guys you'll meet in this game. Great clubhouse guy, and he's been a heck of a backup catcher. He's in the on-deck circle for the Braves. Giannis, a foul tip, 0-2. Well, he's gotten back strikes against the hitter.
He's got to make a little better pitch here, 0-2, than he did to Dan Uggla. Way up out of the zone or down in the dirt.
Boy, it's tough to take a pitch like that, 0-2. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if he calls that a strike, you just tip your cap.
Leonard Skinner is going to perform as soon as this ball game is over. They're ready to take the stage.
And I've seen him. Saw him a couple of years ago.
1-2 pitch to Giannis. A check swing. Boy, Kratz thought that was a strike anyway. He wanted an appeal, and Angel Hernandez said no, and then he asked for the appeal.
Wow. I didn't think there needed to be an appeal.
Charlie Manuel has done such a great job with this team over the years. He's chirping a little bit over there.
He's thrown him 4 straight fastballs. Zip code.
Stays alive, a foul ball. Charlie Manuel is the all-time winningest manager in Philadelphia Phillies history. For his career, he has 930 wins.
And we go clear back to 2006, Tom, and you think he was people considered a lame duck manager in Philly.
Now he's gone on and won 709 games to the Phils, looking for 710. Now the 2-2 pitch to Giannis. Fly ball foul. Well, that's 30 pitches now for Bastardo.
If he's going to throw that breaking ball, he's got to get it down.
Kind of like he did to Hayward. And
exactly.
The first batter he faced.
Back foot him.
Kratz is going to set up inside. Swing and a miss. He got him with the back foot slider. The Phillies have won it 5-1. They've taken the first 2 games of this series against the Braves. Now it's time for the premiere of Fox College Saturday. Here's Erin Andrews. Erin?
Tom and Mitch, thanks so much. Coming up after the break.